morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Honest Football Talk, where I, Thomas Llewellyn, give you guys my honest take on everything going on in the NFL world today. And I thought, what better way to start off this episode than to go over last week's NFL Hall of Fame game. And as you guys know, I did go over this last week a little bit and gave you guys a score prediction. And I did predict the Chicago Bears winning 21-17 against the Houston Texans, and I honestly can't believe that my prediction came true. Looking at the game, as you guys do know, that they did not play the fourth quarter due to weather issues, so that did play to my benefit for getting this score correct, and I'm just really happy that my prediction came true. I kind of wish that I bet on the game a little bit, bet on my prediction, but of course, it was just a silly prediction. I honestly didn't think it'd come true, and hey, we're going to keep predicting these games going forward. See how many more I can get. 1-0 so far. But going from there, let's go ahead and actually look over the game, look at some of the stats. I was honestly surprised with some of the performances that I looked over here, watching the game and watching some of the highlights. I still think Davis Mills is a great quarterback. I know he played a good bit for the Texans, and I thought he looked good. He went down. I think they scored on their opening possession. Did really, really good with them. And the other player I definitely want to highlight is Brett. What's his name? Brett Ripon, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Ripon. He played phenomenal for the Bears, threw 3 touchdowns, led them to their victory against the Texans, and doing it with a lot of the more backup players, getting used to the system. This is all like brand new. They've only just been in like OTAs and training camp to get this stuff together, and I think Brett put together a really, really good performance here for this Hall of Fame game. So yeah, pretty cool outcome for the Bears. Awesome to see how well they perform. One more thing I wanted to highlight too from this game is Cam Akers. As we all know, that Cam Akers has come back from multiple injuries when he was with the Rams. He didn't get a lot of playtime due to his career injuries, tearing his I think it was his Achilles. But yeah, having all the injuries on Cam Akers, it's difficult to get back on the field and produce like a top running back in the NFL. And seeing that he did end up scoring a touchdown. He did end up scoring a touchdown for the Houston Texans in the Hall of Fame game, and I thought he looked good when he was playing. It was a receiving touchdown, and he did good. So, big congrats to them. Looking forward to seeing more playtime from a lot of these younger players, seeing what they can bring to the table going forward. But yeah, that was pretty much the Hall of Fame game. Like I said, they couldn't play the fourth quarter, so we didn't see a lot more. I'd say fringe players on the bubble. I'm sure a lot did play that game, but we're going to be seeing a lot more of that going into probably the last preseason game once they get to it. But yeah, going from there, that's the Hall of Fame game. We'll go ahead and go into some of the NFL stories that are right now active in the NFL. The biggest story right now that I think everyone's talking about is Brandon Aiyuk. Where's Brandon Aiyuk going to go, Right now, he's currently a wide receiver for the 49ers, but nobody knows what his future holds. He definitely doesn't want to play for the 49ers on his franchise tag. He wants to get paid. He wants to be, a part of the team for the future. He wants to make sure that, he's got his guaranteed money going forward, and I don't blame the guy. The NFL is a business after all. A lot of these players, they put their, health on the line. They sometimes... just look at Damar Hamlin. They basically put their life on the line for entertainment for us people. So it makes sense that they want to get paid and get paid well and fairly. So definitely understand why Brandon Aiyuk has not come to an agreement with the 49ers right now. But it looks like that he's more likely to be traded at this point because they're just never going to come to an agreement. And I'm curious to see where he goes. There's been a lot of teams in the mix. The 3 notable ones, if everyone's been keeping up, are the New England Patriots, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And out of all 3 of those, I think the most likely one that Brandon goes to is probably the Pittsburgh Steelers. One thing, it's been highly touted that the Steelers are really, really interested in another wide receiver. Ever since they traded Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers, there's been a void on the wide receiver side for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They definitely need some more outside help if they want to actually make their offense viable for this year. So I can definitely see them putting in a lot of work to try to get this trade done. I don't see them giving up another wide receiver. A lot of these trade packages seem to include a receiver. Like for the Patriots, it was rumored that the Patriots were going to send back Kendrick Bourne, who was originally drafted by the 49ers, and along with draft picks, as well as the Cleveland Browns, are going to send back Amari Cooper with draft picks to try to get Brandon Aiyuk. So curious to see what kind of trade is in place for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they have anything better or something of more value to offer to the 49ers, so it would entice them to want to trade Brandon Aiyuk to them, but it's difficult to see because they don't. The Steelers do not have a lot of offensive weapons that can really be a huge impact unless they went running back. But we know 49ers are set at running back, so I just don't see. Personally, just do not see a player being involved when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to have to give up a lot of draft capital if they want to get Brandon Aiyuk personally. So we'll see how that plays out. Everything's saying that Brandon Aiyuk is definitely going to be traded. Like I said, don't know too much about that. He might end up staying on the team. Who knows? But a lot of NFL insiders think he is going to be traded, and it's something to keep an eye on this offseason. So once that actually happens, I'll be sure to report to you guys about it, and we'll talk about the benefits and the negatives of the trade that takes place. But yeah, going on from there, that's our first story for the NFL. Our second story comes about I decided I wanted to cover the top 100 players of 2024. If you guys know, the NFL tends to do this around towards, obviously here in August, towards the end of the offseason going into the preseason. They put together this list of the top 100 players going into the year. So this is the players vote on this, and they all vote on who they think is going to be the best going into this season out of the top 100. So to give you an idea, they have Aaron Rodgers ranked in the 90s in this list, even though he had not played last year. It brings up a lot of controversies, and it makes you think critically a little bit more about some of these players when this list comes out. Personally, I do not like this list. I think it's silly to even make this silly argument with some of these players, because when you look at the top five, especially this year, it starts to really weigh on you. Is this really what the players think? Is this really an accurate representation? So, don't know how seriously these players take this list either. Some do, some just treat it as just something they got to get over with. So, I always say this list, take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I do think it's interesting the way that it sparks conversation within the community. A lot of people love talking about it, and it does spike some interest. Let you know who to pay attention to, and who basically the players think is going to have a breakout season this year. So when looking at the list, biggest controversy that everyone talks about is that Patrick Mahomes is rated number 4 on this list, while Tyreek Hill ended up becoming the number 1 player in the league. And as you guys know from my previous rankings of Tyreek Hill, I see Tyreek Hill very, very highly in my list, and I'm very similar with some of these thought processes and thinking that if you put Tyreek Hill on a team, that a mediocre quarterback could transcend just because of how great Tyreek Hill is. And then you could say with Patrick Mahomes, you basically are just set when you have Patrick Mahomes. I think he can do a lot with very little, as well, as you've seen when they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Still has won Super Bowls without him. Has more Super Bowls since Tyreek Hill has left. So it just goes to show that even though Tyreek Hill is such a great player, the quarterback is the most important position on the field. And I can understand the controversy around this list, thinking that Patrick Mahomes deserves to be number 1. It's not Tyreek Hill, but I get it as well because of how special Tyreek Hill is as a talent. That I don't think Miami would be anywhere near where they are success-wise without Tyreek Hill. So I completely get why he's highly touted, but personally, I definitely agree that those two numbers should be flipped. Tyreek Hill should probably be number 4, while Patrick Mahomes is number 1. And yeah, and another thing, they also have Lamar Jackson ranked higher. I get it, he won MVP. He probably technically had a better season because the Chiefs did struggle a little bit before they got everything together in the playoffs, but that's how football is, like sometimes you struggle, sometimes you're, going through the whole entire season, you don't have any mess ups, but that's the whole reason why we play the regular season. The point is to get yourself ready for the postseason. So understandable that, like I said, that Tyreek Hill be number 1. Do not agree that Lamar Jackson is ahead no matter what. I get it. Skill-wise, he's a much better, if you want to look at, with him running, obviously, Lamar Jackson is a much better runner than Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes is the best decision-maker in football, in my opinion. He just makes the best decisions with the football. There's nobody that can top him in the way that he plays the game. So, with all that said, that's why I believe Patrick Mahomes should be number 1 in the top 100. Going on from there, we'll get to our last NFL story. This one's kind of sad, of course. definitely got me emotional as a Eagles fan. It had just come out today that Nick Foles is retiring from the NFL. I'm very, very, like I said, very, very emotional about this because he helped the Eagles get their very first Super Bowl win. I think you can see it in that corner over there a little bit. The nice little ticket set up with all the signatures on it. I got a bunch of stuff from the Super Bowl 52 when, the Eagles beat the Patriots. It was the greatest memory of my life as a Philadelphia Eagle fan. So very, very emotional to hear about Nick Foles retiring, but absolutely love the guy. Wish him the best going forward. I hope he has a great retirement. I hope he finds great success in his next career. I saw some great rumors talking about, or just some hypotheticals, I put it that way, of Nick Foles joining the Fox crew and commentating with Tom Brady. That would be perfect. Just them talking about Super Bowl 52 together. Oh, I'd love it. But to go over a little bit of Nick Foles' stats here. Foles played for 6 NFL teams over his 11 professional seasons, including 2 stints with the Eagles from 2012 to 2014 and 2017 to 2018. I still remember us trading Nick Foles for Sam Bradford. I was so... I don't know how to put it. I was so when the... I don't know how to explain this, but I was definitely like in because this is back when we had Chip Kelly as our head coach, and as everyone knows, Chip Kelly is of course not in the NFL anymore. His whole process kind of fell apart in the NFL, but when he was good, there was a few years when Chip Kelly was touted as like this really, really mastermind of football and being able to transform a team into something amazing in the NFL's eyes. Like I assume Jeffrey Lurie saw Chip Kelly as this special talent of a coach, decided to hire him, and when we got Chip Kelly, first few seasons were good. I believe we went 10-6 in both seasons. And then we had Nick Foles step up as our starter, and it was insane when he came in to play for the Eagles because he ended up having one of his best seasons. I think he set a record for having the least amount of interceptions the one year, having one of the best touchdown to interception ratios. And then we end up trading him right after that. That's what bothered me with that trade, is that Nick Foles had one of his best seasons ever, and then we trade him. And then for Sam Bradford, who was very injury prone at the time, he had so many injuries with the Rams at the time. It was very, very mind-boggling to see that trade happen, but I'm so happy that he was able to come back to the Eagles. I know he was our backup with Carson Wentz, and then when Carson Wentz went down, I'm going to be honest, as an Eagles fan, I thought our season was pretty much done. When Carson Wentz tore his ACL, I was like, there's no way. Carson Wentz was our bread and butter that whole year, getting us through, and then our last couple regular season games with Nick Foles in there were not great. Now, we could say that it's rust. He was shaking off the rust, and but going into the postseason, I was I was not the most confident, especially our first game against the Atlanta Falcons. If you look at that game, it was luck that we got it. There was this bounce, there's this tip pass that Torrey Smith caught that just somehow gave us a first down on this ridiculous 3rd and long that probably shouldn't have got it. Probably would have ended us right there, but fate said nope. The Eagles are going all the way, and we ended up getting the first down. Ended up winning the game against Atlanta and going to the Super Bowl and beating Tom Brady. So, like I said, my greatest memory as an Eagles fan, just it was the first Super Bowl, of course, the Eagles had ever won, with Super Bowl 52. So just having that memory, being able to see the parade and everything for the Eagles, knowing that would have been possible without Nick Foles. So thank you so much, dude, for everything you've done for the franchise and being there. And I just want to touch off with his final stats here. He retires with 71 games played, 58 starts, and an even 29-29 record as a starter. Pretty crazy. With 14,227 passing yards, 82 touchdowns, and 47 interceptions, and one legendary showing in the Super Bowl. He'll officially hang it up with the team that drafted him out of Arizona in September. Yep, he'll be retiring with the Eagles after our Week 1 matchup, and I'm sure it'll be a great, great moment. I'm sure they'll have a great, great ceremony for him, and yeah, I'm going to miss you. Wish you all the best, Nick Foles. Take care, brother, and thank you for everything. So going on from there, let's go ahead and get into the big news for preseason week 1, if that makes sense. We're going to go ahead and get into, as you guys know, Hall of Fame game happened last week. Finally into the football season, technically. So this is going to be our first preseason week where every team participates and not just 2. And looking at some of the matchups for this preseason week, there's a couple things that I wanted to point out that I want to pay attention to going forward. Some that we'll discuss as well next week after the games have been played. But looking at this week, for tonight especially, for Thursday night, we have two matchups. It looks like it's the Carolina Panthers versus the New England Patriots, as well as the Detroit Lions versus the New York Giants. Now, for tonight's matchup, I'm definitely looking forward to watching the Lions versus the Giants. It's very, very, it's going to be, I think, a very, very physical game, as if you've been keeping up with some of the training camp news. There's been a lot of talks of a lot of training camp fights going on. It seems to be becoming an issue in the NFL, something that the NFL is definitely going to have to look into, because these joint practices with other teams keep igniting a lot of, I don't know if it's just bad blood between specific players, or if it's just the atmosphere itself that's causing these players to want to get more intense, and fights break out. It's understandable. You're in highly stressful situation. You're hitting each other every play, so it makes sense when people's tempers are going to flare and they're going to want to retaliate a little bit. So, but seeing all these fights breaking out against the Lions and Giants, I think it's going to be a good matchup. It goes to show that these guys have some fire in them and want to show that they belong in the league and show what they got. And I've been watching a lot. I'm being an Eagles fan, not a big fan of the New York Giants, but I've been watching a lot of Malik Neighbors. The dude looks like a beast. Every play I see him catching a ball over a defender that looks impossible to do. I'm amazed at all the shit he's been able to do so far. The dude's amazing. Like I'm excited to see what Malik Neighbors honestly brings to the table. Not excited to see him play against the Eagles on Sundays, but I'm excited to see what the rookie can do in the NFL. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. Might be the next Odell for the Giants. I could see it happening. Dude looks like a great talent, and I'm looking forward to see him play here in the first preseason game, seeing what he can do. Going from there with the Lions, I'm also excited to see what the Lions can do. They had their best season like ever last year, making it to the NFC Championship. Can they repeat? Can they get over the hump, get to the Super Bowl? We'll see. I don't know if they have all the pieces in place, but this is the best I've ever seen the Detroit Lions and the current state that they're in, and their draft looked promising as well. I'm very curious to see how Terran Arnold, I think is his name is, the cornerback that they drafted in the first round. Curious to see how well he does, especially in this first preseason game. The dude, he was a guy that I wanted the Eagles to kind of get, because inside his jacket he played for a team that was also called the Eagles at one point in his life, and I thought it'd just be cool to just have that and him showing that off on the stage. But that didn't happen. We went with Quentin Michael, and I'm cool with of course with whatever the Eagles choose. But I still think Terran Arnold's going to have a great career as well out of Alabama. We'll see how he does here with the Lions his first game. But yeah, going on from there, I'm probably not going to be paying too much attention to the Panthers and Patriots. I am curious to see if Drake May is going to play this first week, see how he does. I want to see if he's going to end up being the future for the Patriots. And yeah, same with the Panthers. Is Bryce Young going to actually, ascend to being a true starter in the NFL? It's something to watch out for. Going on from there, some of these other games that I wanted to cover. The Philadelphia Eagles playing the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens had just finally gotten their first, I think, loss last year in the preseason. They had been on quite a tear of just always winning in the preseason. Pretty insane if you really look at how their record went, because the preseason nobody, technically tries to win. It's all about getting experience for the players, but at the same time, it is about winning too. So I just thought it was cool how much the Ravens were able to keep that consistency for years to come. So I think the Ravens will end up being a tough match here for the Eagles. They're going to end up trying to win. They take the preseason very seriously, I think, and we're going to see what the Eagles do. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is even going to play. We might be seeing a competition between Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee. I want to see if Tanner is going to be our QB2 or if Kenny Pickett's going to win it out for QB2. Who knows? We might end up trading Kenny Pickett again, because I still think Kenny Pickett is a great talent, but I just don't think he stands a chance with the Eagles roster. We got too much talent behind him, I think, personally, but excuse me. But yeah, going on from there, we're going to see Quentin Mitchell get some play time for the Eagles, see how well he does. I'm curious to see, how some of these younger players explode onto the scene. Curious if the Ravens are going to end up utilizing some of Zay Flowers here in this preseason game. See if they're going to get how much they're going to use starters here at the beginning of the preseason. It's always interesting to see how coaches go about that, because you want to give your players experience, but at the same time you don't want to get them injured. So there's always that fine line of how much is too much. And yeah, excited to see the outcome of that game. Of course, we'll talk about more of that once the game is completed. Going from there, last game I wanted to touch on was the Houston Texans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, of course, we've already seen some of the Houston Texans play. Got a feeling they're going to stick with the same formula with Davis Mills as their starter. See how well he does here. See if he ends up earning the backup job for the Houston Texans behind C.J. Stroud. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a very interesting quarterback competition sort of going on between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. They don't want to admit that it's really a competition because they want to keep Russell Wilson happy. But Russell Wilson is definitely fighting for that job. I don't know if he's going to end up keeping it the whole year. I think Justin Fields has too much talent for them just to not give him a chance to go out there and see what he can do. So we'll see if Justin Fields starts this game, how much he's going to get involved with some of these players, how much is Jeremy Warren going to play, how much is Najee Harris going to play, all these other starters, we'll see. I'm curious to see how it all goes, and that's what's great about this first week. We're going to get a lot answered for us for these teams, who they're planning on focusing on as their starters, who they're focusing on trying to implement into their offense and defense a lot more going forward. So very, very excited to see that this weekend. Hope you guys are excited too. I'll be watching all the highlights and trying to keep you guys updated on everything going on in the NFL world. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, what you guys think of these matchups. Are you guys excited for any of these matchups? Any specific players you guys are looking out for? And yeah, I think that's everything I got for today, guys. This is Honest Football Talk with Thomas Llewellyn, and I'm signing out, guys. Take care. Have a good one.